Dnieper is the third largest river of Europe and is the main waterway of Ukraine. And that's why it's natural that the most important energy generating structures are located on Dnipro. It is those electrostructures that generate not only the cheapest but the most ecologically friendly energy. Water is the source that's made by the Mother Nature, and it has huge renewable resources. It is clear that Ukraine's energetics can hardly be oriented at just one source. The hydroenergetics does not require such a qualitative preparation as, say, heat or nuclear one. At the same time, a very low self-value of hydroelectroenergetics guarantees high profit level. The hydroelectrostation's main feature is their high maneuverability and high range of heavy-duty regulation. Water energy gains relevance here. The deficit of maneuver peak power is known to be one of the key issues here. The maximum heavy-duty operation in the energy system takes place in the morning and in the evening, when the energy consumption goes up considerably. To keep the balance of power in the net, the electrostations have to respond momentarily. Nowadays, the power deficit to cover the maximum heavy-duty operation is about 3000 megawatts. The heat-generating stations are used as maneuver power, but such regimes of work are not characteristic for them. It doesn't only make sense, but also leads to the quick wear-off of the equipment. To guarantee the 24-hour regulating of the energy consumption, it is hydroenergy blocks that play the leading role in the heavy-duty operating. One of the main tasks of the hydroelectrostation is improvement of the water supply of population and production, irrigation of the considerable parts of agricultural facilities, apart from the developing the clean and ecologically pure electroenergy. Besides, the construction of hydroelectrostations allow to regulate the level of water in rivers and protects the population from overflooding. In summer this year, as a result of considerable rains at the Western Europe, the level of water in Dniester has come up catastrophically. As a result, many towns and villages have been overflooded in that region. About 6,000 cubic meters a second was the critical level that has caused the difficult situation at the Dniester hydro blocks. It has become the serious endeavor for the hydroenergy specialists. Strange as it might seem, but it is this situation has proven the important role of hydroelectrostations in the point of accumulating and regulating the water level in such complex conditions. About only 3,400 cubic meters a second was the pass-through capacity of Dniester hydroelectrostations. All 6 hydro aggregates were working into the bargain, but the level of water was still very critical. Thus, regulating the coming up and consumption of water, the hydroenergy specialists diminished the level of overflooding of the regions that were located down Dniester and preserved all the station structures from ruination. The equipment has proven effectivity of its utilization and demonstrated the considerable resources. The decision-making of hydroelectric station administration was quite correct, and it led to minimal damages while resisting this disaster. It was highly esteemed by President and Prime Minister of Ukraine. I would like to express my warm thanks to all the workers and you personally that you have been doing your best to preserve stability in those regions lest the overflooding wouldn't hit the Vinnytsia region. All realize that it is Dniester hydroelectric station that's mostly been impacted by the water that threatened Ukraine, still more overflooding. The possibility of such overflooding is one for 200 years. To foresee such a whimsical behavior of Dniester is very difficult. Besides, it flows through the mountains. That is why construction of such hydroelectric station is the only solution of this problem. The only hydroenergy generating company of this state is the society Ukrhydroenergo. It works with the Kievsky gas and gas, Kanevsky, Kremenchutsky, Dneprodzerzhinsky and Kakhovsky hydroelectric stations, as well as the legendary Dnipro gas and Dniprovska gas too. The youngest Ukrainian hydro station Dnistrovska is incorporated in the company. Dniprovsky cascade has been utilizing the potential of Dnieper at about 90% over the dozens of years. The exploitation of hydroelectric stations has led to the considerable wear out of equipment. Besides, the obsolete equipment has no possibility to guarantee the necessary parameters of regulating and ecological safety. The company Ukrhydroenergo has been realizing the project of rehabilitation of the local hydroelectric stations since 1996, assisted by the World Bank of Reconstruction and Development. In summer of 2002, the first stage of reconstruction was complete. The general increase of power has achieved 156 megawatt. The annual increase of working out of the peak electro energy has been achieved at 150 million megawatt. The reconstructed hydro aggregates productivity has been increased at 4%. That allows to use the water resources of Dnieper more rationally. The scope of work is huge in all ways and very challenging financially, as it is being done in the conditions of the operating stations. We keep working according to the schedule so far. That's why I would estimate this part of work more or less moderately. It is satisfactory so far. The World Bank has given the higher esteem so far. The result of the first stage of reconstruction is implementation of the modern automatized systems of monitoring of the hydroelectric stations in general, and also the system of control of the safety of the hydrotechnic structures. The safe exploitation of the Dnieper stations and the safe using of the hydrotechnical structures in terms of the ecology have been safeguarded for 30 and 40 years. In general, at the first stage, about 16 hydro aggregates have been completely reconstructed. The monitoring systems have been replaced with the new ones at the 54 Hydroenergo blocks. Nowadays, the second stage of reconstructions have been taken place. The hydro aggregates are being replaced and the system of automatized control over the condition of the hydrotechnical structures is being implemented. The system of diagnostics of equipment is being implemented too. Thanks to this, apart from safety and prolongations of terms of exploitation of equipment, another summary power will be obtained that equals the power of another station, such as Kievsky, Dniprodzerzhinsky or Kakhovsky GAES. In Ukraine, where the most of the rivers flow through the plains, the hydroelectric stations have practically exhausted their capabilities. The hydro accumulating has good perspectives. The cheap electro-energy generated by the electrostation in the nighttime is used by hydro accumulating station for pumping water by means of the powerful pumping turbines from the lower water reserve into the upper one, the so-called accumulating pool. During the peak operation, the water falling down makes turbines to generate electro-energy. By means of this, the stability of functioning of all the energo system is enhanced. As specialists claim, the Ukrainian hydro accumulating potential is capable not only to meet the requirements of Ukraine in the peak electro-energy, but even to export it abroad. The energy potential of Dniester is about 9.5 billion kilowatt-hours. According to the project, the Dniester located complex cascade of hydroelectric station and hydro-accumulating electrostation was planned to utilize such a considerable resource. The construction of Dniester hydro-accumulating station was planned in 1985. Its location was favored by the capabilities of utilizing of the water reserve of Dniester GAES 2 as the lower pool of hydro-accumulating electrostation. The right bank plateau and lower level of water reserve height difference is 150 meters. Thanks to the unique positioning of aggregates of Dniester accumulating station, the river bank slope displacement is reduced to minimum. Besides, the lively landscape is not affected either. But, unfortunately, due to the economic situation changing, the Dniester hydro accumulating electrostation, one of the largest scale projects of the world level, had for a long time remained uncompleted. 10 years after, the construction of the station was renewed. Nowadays, the company Ukrhydroenergo effectuates the centralized monitoring of hydroelectric station construction and guarantees realization of credits of international financial organizations. The commissioning of the starting complex of hydro-accumulating electrostation is planned for the end of 2008. It will be incorporated in the first hydro aggregate. It will operate in the regime of the synchronized compensator, generating the reactive energy. The station's testing will be followed by starting the aggregate in the pumping regime. Water will be pumped up from the buffer water reserve, and on completion the testing of equipment, ramparts and water reserves, the decision will be made to start the machine already in the generating regime. In view of the planned capability that will make about 270 megawatt in the pumping regime, 2947 megawatt, the Dniester hydro-accumulating electrostation will become one of the most powerful hydro-accumulating stations that are being constructed in the world. Ukraine, from this point of view, is the advanced country, as in general in hydroenergetics. This, in reality, is the purely Ukrainian product, because the aggregate engineers are Ukrainians. They were manufactured by the Ukrainian factories. The turbines and generator, motor and transformator are created by the Ukrainian energy specialists, and I hope it will operate safely. As the President of Ukraine put it, the completion of constructing the Dniester hydro accumulating station is one of the state policy priorities in the sphere of safeguarding the energetic safety of our state. Hydroaccumulating station commissioning is an important factor of stability of energy system of Ukraine. The moratorium on constructing Kanivsky hydroaccumulating electro station was uplifted in 1999. The plant capacity of 4 hydro aggregates, of which is 1000 megawatts. The high level of safety of operating of the nuclear electro station is safeguarded at the expense of implementation of hydroaccumulating stations. They are sensitive to abrupt drop in currency. Besides, the heat stations will operate in more advantageous regime. It will give them the possibility to increase the productivity and to slow down the wear off of the equipment. The high energy effectivity of hydroelectro stations, their safety for the environment, create the conditions for increased development of hydroenergetics. The perspectives of the so-called small-scale hydroelectro stations are to be taken into account. In 50s and 60s of the last century, there were about 1,000 small-scale hydroelectro stations in Ukraine, and there were only 49 stations left by the end of the 80s. 70 105 megawatt small-scale hydroelectro stations have been updated and are up and running. Annually, they generate more than 320 million kilowatt-hours. One of the burning issues remained the problem of reconstruction of the obsolete equipment and renewal of the damaged structures of the small-scale hydroelectro stations. The reliable resources of the water energy exist in Ukraine nowadays. Their hydroenergetic potential is more than 25% from the entire potential. It takes a few months to construct the small-scale hydroelectro stations. Their exploitation don't involve the big expenses. The construction expenses get compensated within a few years. Besides, the utilization of the water reserves are used for fish hatcheries and water supply. That considerably increase the capital investments. The energy of water is cheapest and ecologically safest throughout the world. The hydroelectro stations have the high level of maneuverability to control and monitor the power and currency within the energo system. And without this, no full-scale functioning of the energetic complex of any country is impossible. All the hydroenergetics company Ukrhydroenergo's activity gives good reason to believe that hydroenergy was, is and remains the reliable element of the entire electro-energy complex of Ukraine.